Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we are on the reminiscences of an elderly Samuel Pepys, as most old people do. He must have been like most old people, and in his old age thought back to his childhood years, and this church played a pivotal role in that. All that remains of the church is this tower, St Augustine's Church in Hackney. The original, or the oldest building in Hackney, was part of the original Hackney village, was this church. So we're going to be getting a tour of inside this one, right up to the top, onto the roof. The clock workings, you can even ring a bell inside. So I'll walk you around and give you some exterior views before we go in. Tombstones here, and its original churchyard. Sorry mate, it's the original churchyard. He was a very polite Uber Eats delivery person, I must say. And I'm not being sarcastic, he was actually generally polite. Here lies the body of Sir Thomas Play. Oh God. P-L-A-Y-R-E. What looks like I-V-I, and the rest of it's gone. And he died on the 19th of January 1685. But I will save a churchyard tour as a separate thing for when I do St John's at Hackney, and we will cover this churchyard and all its tombs. So I've already done Sutton House today and need to be back home in a little while. Love places like this. And the trajectory of the church came this way. You used to get in through there that way, and this was its, where my finger is pointing now, was its nave. Going that way. Here are some of its old tombs. I'll walk you further back to the end, and we get a bit more of a view. Many of the tombs, the inscriptions are worn away, particularly these Georgian and earlier ones. And this stone marks the western most part of the church. So you've got that stone over there and this one there. So yeah, I'll pause you a sec while I get the history out. St Augustine's Tower is Hackney's oldest building, having survived the rest of the original parish church, which was demolished in 1798. A familiar landmark, it stands in the centre of an ancient village of Hackney and appears on the borough's coat of arms. It is listed Grade 1 and is therefore in the top 2% of the listed buildings in the country. The tower is all that remains of the old St Augustine, which was built at the end of the 13th century when Hackney was a village separated by fields from the city of London. During the 17th century, the dedication changed to St John. Why the change of name? The Knights Templar, a military order, were important landowners in Hackney and probably gave the land on which the church was built. They were influenced by the writings of St Augustine, Bishop of Hippo. After the order was suppressed in 1308, their estates passed to another military religious order, the Knights Hospitaller, or the Knights of St John, and this led the church to being renamed St John at Hackney. In turn, the Order of Knights of St John was dissolved during the Reformation, and its property in Hackney was passed on to new owners. So, started its life off as St Augustine's and then became St John's at Hackney. That's your history. And what it was replaced with is over here. John's Church at Hackney, which was built in the late 1780s. Got dozens and dozens of its gravestones. So it'll make an interesting churchyard tour, but it's going to be one that I'm going to need a good couple of hours for. Here we are. St John's, Hackney, badly damaged by fire in the 1950s as well, so that replaced this one, but kept the same churchyard, which obviously just became fuller and fuller and fuller. Just at the end here, as if there's no one in there, which there may be, so I may not be able to show it. Here is its walled garden and the church. St John's at Hackney, which replaced that one over there. So, join me back at St Augustine's. Here we are. In 1929, Hackney Borough Council bought the tower from the church of St John over the road to save it from demolition. Since then, some maintenance work has been carried out. In 1933, in 1983, and most recently in 2005, when major restoration works financed by the HLF and LB Hackney were undertaken to install permanent exhibition and open the roof up to the public. So this church, from Samuel Hood's boyhood days, when him and his brother was boarded out to stay with Goody Lawrence to protect them really from the filth and nastiness of London, the city of London, because it was healthier and cleaner here in the country, which it was in those days. When they were staying with Goody Lawrence, this is the church that they would have come to on a Sunday, and don't forget everyone went to church on Sundays in those days. And later on, at the time of the diary, when Samuel Pepys wanted to get away from London, he would come to Hackney and bring Elizabeth to Hackney for a little day trip, and they came to St Augustine's Church, and it's mentioned a couple of times in the diary. Most interestingly and most importantly, when he notes the fine pair of organs in the church and regrets that St Olave's, his own church, didn't have none. So yeah, this is a little hark back to Samuel Pepys' childhood memories and going inside all that remains of the church that he would have known and loved and well remembered into his old age, I should imagine. So, ladies and gents, join me inside and we shall begin our tour.
All very well, thank you. Hang on, it's on the old one. Okay. I can't work out how to.
Oh yes, there's a
There's a code somewhere, isn't there? We switch it on, but I think we need a. Well, maybe. I think it's fully charged. Shall I? I'll try ringing Patrick and see if he can.
Yes, we have this ongoing
Oh, God. Oh, no. It's all about that.
we just want to get the light itself. Oh, I see. Oh, yes. It's had it.
There is a code that you have to do somewhere.
Yes. Oh, I see.
Oh, nice one.
that should be. This is better. to be run?
Well,
Or?
yeah, because it's a bit different from my. There's usually something at the top. So these two.
Is there a code? We're just trying to switch on the donation machine.
We shall go up. And we know that Pepys got among the high places of several churches in his time, the Tower of London as well. So I do wonder if this was one of them. No mention of it, of course, but I love old built towers. Trick stairs. Each one a different height, because a church in a village in those days was the only stone building usually, and its tower could be easily defended. And if someone runs off these stairs with a sword, they would trip. And I'll show you the other little trick about them. Trick stairs. If a right-handed man comes up with a sword, this stone thing makes it more or less impossible for him to strike. But standing above here, you can strike and cut and whatnot and defend. And this, of course, is why we're here, because Samuel Pepys. Oh look, Anthony, a poor old Negro aged 105, and died and was buried February the 18th. So he was buried something the 18th of May 1673. The burial register for 1630 records the earliest surviving reference of a black resident of Hackney, Anthony, a poor old Negro aged 105. Who Anthony was, his social status, and how he came to be living in Hackney remains unknown. That's very interesting. Buried on the 18th of May 1630. See, this is the type of Hackney that Pepys would have remembered when he played in the fields with his brother, with his bow and arrow. I will photograph these on my way back down.
Thank you. Have we got one more, have we? Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Coming down.
No,
Up we go to the next level. There's a clock. It's almost 500 years old, that we can see, and also a bell that you can ring apparently. Ouch, that hurt. St Augustine's Tower for the clock. The clock is of historical significance and has been dated to the late 16th to early 17th century. It's been manually wound for over 400 years. The curator of horology at the Royal Observatory of Greenwich says. And here it is. Metropolitan Borough of Hackney, St John at Hackney. The clock and tower were restored AD 1933. And there's the rods that go through, that power its hands outside. It's hands on that face and hands on that face. The old doors as well, look. So the next level. hot log holes. Look, when they built churches and that in those days, the wooden scaffolding, they'd leave square holes that had big beams sticking out, and that's what they'd build their scaffolding from. They'd fill them in with lime afterwards, saw the beam off and cover it over. Most buildings were lime rendered. Yes, I quite agree. Sun's Crescent Foundry patent. Foundry, London. Warner and Sons Bell Foundry. And this is the bell that we can ring, so prepare yourselves. And we shall ring that twice, just in honour of Samuel Pepys. And the original bells that hung in this church when New St John's was built in the 1700s, and the church was first put up, New St John's, it had to be a big church for a really rapidly growing parish, and it didn't have enough money to build a bell tower, so the bells remained in here for a while, and this remained its functioning bell tower. Then the bells were taken down through this trapdoor when the new tower was built in St John's over there in around 1814. Unfortunately, in the mid-1950s, there was a very bad fire at the church and the bells were melted. The metal was collected and they were recast in 1957 by the Bow Bell Foundry. Whitechapel Bell Foundry, sorry. Not Bow Bell Foundry, Whitechapel Bell Foundry. My mistake. Gosh, this is narrow. And this is where it gets pretty special. Hiya. Alright, thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I'll know in a minute. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Oh, wow, look at the views. And it does make you wonder, doesn't it, whether childhood Samuel Pepys climbed up this tower and looked at the old city of London just there. He wouldn't recognise it now, would he? I wonder what he'd think of modern London. Pepys is quite a dynamic and interesting man, so he might well like it. Stunning, isn't it? You can see right across London from places like this. You don't get too much of that sense that you're going to go toppling over the edge, which is always a comfort. Yeah, you can see right way far into the hills in the distance. Let's turn you back a minute. Some people at the notice board, so we'll go over there in a sec. Look at that. And high up from here, you can get the sense of what Pepys would have had in his London in those days, when churches were the only really highest buildings around, and you could tell your way around by church spires back then. Got a little thing over here. Turn that off.
That's really cool. I didn't realize they would do the whole thing.
And now we get a view of what replaced this church. St Augustine's church was replaced by St John's at Hackney there. It had a terrible fire in the 1950s, but the reason this church became extant is because the parish grew so quickly in the 18th century, and they needed a bigger church. They ran out of money before they could build a bell tower. This one was built in the early 19th century, the bell tower, but when it went up, they were concerned that the footings weren't strong enough to hold the weight of the bells, so this remained its bell tower for a while until it was underpinned, and then the bells were taken out here, moved over there, and as I say, melted in a fire, recast and put back in.
There's also like a little feet. There's also some of those.
Yeah, it is.
Where's that?
That's
The estate?
the estate, yeah. Because they're memory, so these ones are that's memory terrace.
That's the church, so this is the narrow way.
Like, that's clearance.
That's clear. Oh, right, that's the estate. Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So you can, if you want to see where you are, there's a nice, yes, you remember Hackney Dams we went to? These right over there, those trees. Quite the view.
And the Hackney Downs over that way are really all that remains of the sort of countryside-esque bit of Hackney. Don't forget where we're standing. This church was part of a village. It's the oldest part of Hackney. This church tower is the oldest building in Hackney, indeed. So.
It's the church he was talking about. That's the
Gosh, hold up here. If my hair hadn't run away some years ago, I'd probably be warmer. Take you off of zoom and give you a sense of how high up we are. It's got to be about 150 foot or something like that, I'd say. And send me back in, that's it. There's a church I can see over there. Is that Bow Church?
Yeah, just watch your head here, head here. It's not, but still.
St Barnabas, Chatsworth Road. Just there.
Thank you so much.
No worries. My advice is to get on your butt and shuffle it.
Yeah, good advice.
Very dignified.
And from up here at the moment, that concludes our little wander back into Samuel Pepys' childhood and his recollections and childhood memories from a very different Hackney to the one he would have remembered. A little something special in a minute because it is Palm Sunday, so in remembrance of that day. And of course, because of what day it is being Palm Sunday, and in honour of Jesus Christ on this day, for those of us who do believe, and those of you who may not, just brush along with us, but in honour of the day. And now for some historical images of the Hackney that Samuel Pepys would have remembered.
But she was sent away from time to time with Tom to keep him company for the good of their health, into the fresh air outside London. And Aunt Ellen, his mother's sister, was working in Newington Green as a servant, and a nurse was found for the boys in the nearby hamlet of Kingsland, surrounded by open fields. He remembered her as Goody Lawrence, and she did well by him, for he was boarded out with her for several summers. Later, he remembered the physical activities, the pleasure of playing with his bow and arrows in the fields around Hackney,